Okay, so this slide I call the ultimate hack. I always say this during live seminars that if you have not listened to anything that I've said in the past, maybe this is a time for you to listen very carefully, because if you look at this figure on the screen, I call this the ultimate hack in research, because if you know how this works, then you know everything about research. Let me show you how. Okay, but at the beginning we said that we start with a problem, right? And then later on you will see in module 4 that we'll talk about literature review. In the literature review, you will choose your variables, right? Now, in the research objectives, andito lahat ng variables and how they're connected with each other. We talked about that just recently in previous slides. And then we said that yung objectives talks about individual concepts and propositions, right? And how yung logical arrangement or logical relationship between the variables. Now, if you will look at this, ito yung framework natin eh, von sector framework, right? So, for example, usually the profile, demographic profile, dito sa my left, no? We'll start with the demographic profile, and then we have some IVs here. So let's give it a name. Like for example, if this is uh, let's say study habits, all right? So we have study habits as your IV, and then you have the dependent variable, which is maybe academic success. So parang sinasabi natin na okay, we have study habits from our respondents, and then we have academic success, maybe in terms of grades, GPA, and all that. Now we are saying here that the higher, for example, if it's a direct relationship, the higher the study habits, the higher the academic success, right? Of course, meron tayong profile variable. Sometimes yung profile variable becomes the moderator variables. That's why it's here. Parang, if you look at the IV, okay, like study habits, and its interaction with the dependent variable or what we call the academic success, sometimes they are moderated, or yung kanilang effect, yung interaction effect, nagkakaroon ng effect si moderator variables dun sa kanilang relationship, right? Moderator variables sometimes is called extraneous variables, no? But it's somehow a moderator, or it moderates the relationship between the IV. So, halimbawa, bigyan natin example. So, halimbawa, this is, as I said, study habits, academic success. What if this is wag profile? Let's say, uh, uh, the amount of hours in social media, for example, right? You may have good study habits, and at the same time, you are also into social media. But sometimes that can either hamper yung direct relationship, o kaya naman aid it. Kasi minsan, the more you are in touch with with social media, the more you get to know a lot of things, right? Of course, if you search the right things. So, yun, nagiging isang moderator variable. So, that is somehow yung ating research tone, yung research objectives natin. Now, why is it the ultimate hack? If you will look at the research objectives, first say, andi dito na yan, andi dito na yung research objectives. Don't think about anything else. Bawat box dyan correspond to an objective. So, for example, yung number 1, di ba, we'll talk about the profile. So, dapat, ang ating objective number 1, we'll talk about the profile. So, maybe describe the profile of the respondents in terms of age, sex, socioeconomic status, ganyan. Okay? And then, some IVs. So, for example, number 2, ito yung number 2 natin, some IVs. Describe the level of study habits of the respondents. O kung meron kang questionnaire doon, pwede mo ilagay mga domain in terms of blah blah blah, blah blah blah. So, pwedeng ando doon. Okay, number 3, etong moderator variables kung nalagay natin, no? sabi natin kanina is the amount of time spent in social media. So describe the respondents in terms of the level of time spent in social media. Now sometimes itong dalawang to can be joined together, or sometimes in the research objectives you just simply separate them so that you'll know exactly na yung number 2 is the IV, and then number 3 you place as like a moderator variable or exchange variable. So pwede rin naman yun. But if you want to save on the objective, sometimes pinagsasama mo na yung dalawang yun, because in the beginning naman really you don't know that it's a moderator variable, di ba? Sa pantahan mo lang yun, but you don't know it yet, right? So pwedeng pagkasama itong dalawang to sa number 2, okay? And then number 3 is yung level of academic success. So dapat nakahiwalay talaga yan because it's the dependent variable. So sabihin natin describe the level of academic success of the respondents in terms of GPA, etc. Kung meron pang mas madami. Kung GPA lang, okay, GPA. So we have 1, 2, 3, right? Itong dalawa magkasama. So 1, 2, 3. And then there's 4. Pwedeng itong arrow na to can be your fourth objective. What does that mean? Ang ibig sabihin kasi lang nito is there a significant difference on, kung ano man nandito, no? On the level of study habits, the amount of time spent on social media. Itong DV, pwede mo rin isama riyan, no? The academic success, level of academic success of the respondents when grouped according to the demographic profile. Ayan. So remember, ito becomes now, ano yung effect ng demographic profile sa individual levels na to. Ang ibig sabihin nun is, for example, significantly different ba ang level ng social media ng mga lalaki versus babae? How about yung age? Yung mas bata ba? Mas malaki ang kanilang social media, yung pagbabad nila? Or baka pareho lang, okay? Kasi yung mga oldies naman, lalo na kung if you're beyond schooling, baka mas madami kang time sa social media, right? But of course, we're talking about academic success. But depende sa iyong sa research objective saka sa design ng research mo, no? That can be. So yun ang ibig sabihin nitong itong arrow na to. So 1, 2 some IVs and moderator variables. 3 is the level do sa DV. 4th is yung is there a significant difference when grouped according to the demographic profile. And then 5th, eto, no? This one. Yung relationship. So, pwede mo sabihin na parang find out, or pwedeng question naman form, is there a significant relationship between yung level of study habits and academic success. Ngayon, kung gusto talaga natin to improve sa moderator variable, pwede natin siya ilagay doon sa describe the interaction effect of the such and such variables on the relationship between. So, pwede mo natin ilagay yung ganun. Or, pwede nating number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pwedeng number 6 yun, or pwede siyang kasama ng 5. Kasi remember, ang pinaka-importante dito sa lahat yung dependent variable. Kasi yan ang ating research objective talaga. We want to discover whether the dependent variable can be predicted. So, if this is a prediction research, pwede mong sabihin dito, among the IVs, kung maraming IVs natin, pati yung moderator variables kasama dyan, which one predicts the dependent variable best? So, pwedeng ganun, no? Pwedeng another objective yan. So, but needless to say, if you want to just keep your thesis very simple, of course, pag ikaw ay doctorate, mas malalim, mas maganda. But if you want to keep your thesis simple pero rock dapat, kasi ibig sabihin, you are making sure that you have medyo hindi naman tatlo lang na objective. Okay? Meron kang demographic profile na gagamitin mo. Remember, kailangan gamitin mo yan. Some IVs, meron kang significant difference ng demographic profile. Pwedeng may moderator variable ka na naglalaro dun sa interaction effect ng relationship. Meron kang relationship nito yung DV at saka yung IV. And if you want to still inject yung prediction, pwede rin naman. But ako I suggest, if there is no significant relationship, don't go predicting now. Tanggalin nyo na yun because of course wala na nga relationship. Paano pa magkakaroon ng predictor? Sayang ang paper. Alright? So yun. So that is why I call this the ultimate hack, because if you know this, you will already define your research objectives. Tapos going further, if you are designing your questionnaire, dito na rin yan lahat. Kasi ito yung guide mo eh. You should have in the questionnaire your profile. You should have in your questionnaire the IVs. How will you measure the IV? So study habit. Paano mo measure yan? Meron bang questionnaire ang study habits? Meron bang proof para malaman natin yan? How about the dependent variable academic success? I-report na lang ba yan? Isusulat na lang ba nila? How do you do that? Meron bang grade na ibibigay sa'yo ang mga teachers and all that? Moderator variable sa paano mo kukunin yan. So if this is the level of amount of time spent in social media, do you ask that questions? Meron bang 5 items dito na summarize ng kanyang spend time in social media, or is it just a straight question na like how many hours do you spend browsing your social media accounts, something like that. So yun, 'di ba? So ando doon na rin ang questionnaire. Pagtas ng questionnaire, moving further, ando doon na rin ang results. Since kasama to sa objectives, dapat meron kang result sa number 1, which is the profile, number 2, yung IV at saka yung moderator variables. Siyempre mean, pwedeng mean yan at saka standard deviation kasi descriptive statistics lang naman. And then next, dependent variable, meron ka rin dyan, mean, standard deviation. And then since this is, ang tanong natin doon sa 1, 2, 3, 4, ang tanong natin doon sa question about sa demographic profile, is there a significant difference? So pwedeng F-test, di ba? ANOVA or T-test, depende sa nilagay natin sa data analysis. Later on, you'll see na lahat naman yun ay analysis of variance kung tutuusin, right? So variance yan. Kahit na 2 degrees of freedom niya ay 2 or 3 or whatever. So, meron ka dapat results doon. Meron ka ring results sa relationship because dito yan. So, meron kang relationship effect dito. And then, if you will choose to, if you will ask the interaction effect, dapat meron ka ring data analysis. So, therefore, meron kang result din doon. Okay? And then, hindi pa tapos, guys. So, pagtas nun, di may results ka na. Meron ka namang summary of findings para sa mga to din, right? Summarize mo lang yung findings and then magko-conclude ka na naman sa mga to, right? Kaya nga importante, guys, tanongin mo sa sarili mo, is it important to include profile in the research objective? Kasi kung hindi mo naman gagamitin, why would you include it? Alam ba, gusto mo lang malaman how many males and females are in your list. Di ba, ang sasabihin sa iyo ng panelist mo, ikaw pumili niyan bakit mo sasabihin ngayon, I therefore conclude 51% are male? Ikaw ay pumili ng respondents, right? So, hindi dapat ilalagay yun as objective. Yun ay participants of the study. Unless gagamitin mo siya. Gagamitin mo siya kung ang tanong mo is there a significant difference when grouped according to the profile variables. So, since meron kang conclusion diyan, meron ka ring recommendation sa bawat conclusion, right? So, again, kaya ito naging ultimate hack is because if you know this, then eto na yung dire-diretso na yan. Lahat ng susunod na gagawin mo in research is here. So, kailangan malaman mo yung drawing mong ganito. What is your drawing? That determines your research. Alright? So, yun po yung dahilan. Okay, next slide. Next slide is the statement of the hypothesis. Now, I am including it here kasi there are some schools na meron pang ganito. But there are schools na lalo na yung sumusunod na sa EPA format, wala lang statement of the hypothesis. Pero ang statement of the hypothesis, remember yung tanong natin kanina, backtrack, no? Is there a significant difference? Hypothesis yun, no? Kung meron significant difference, di null hypothesis yan at saka alternative hypothesis, meaning ang null ay zero difference, therefore they are the same. Ang alternative hypothesis naman, i-reject mo yung null, therefore they are different. So, ganun ang hypothesis. So, is there a significant difference? Kaya nga merong requirement ng statistical computation yan. Pero hindi na kailangang mag-table, no? Yung mga ibang teachers, alam pa rin nila yung table dati, nagko-compute, obtain value versus yung critical value. Hindi na po natin ginagamit yan ngayon. Kasi meron na po tayong mga software, no? SPSS, Marami pa po. Minsan sa Excel nagagawa na po yan. Hahanapin na lang po yung p-value. Alright? So, hindi natin to discuss masyado. Hypothesis, parang nagsisimula ka lang kasi dito with a conjectural statement of relationship. So, pag relationship, is there a significant relationship? That's the question, right? So, ang hypothesis mo, there is no significant relationship kasi zero yung null hypothesis zero, and then the alternative is there is a significant relationship kasi you are rejecting the null. Okay, but kaya nga nagiging pabigat na to because remember, if you will look at yung mga papers na sinasubmit online, pansinin mo paiklian na sila, they're not they're not making their papers very long kasi bawat page may bayad na extra. Kaya, hindi na talaga yan nila dinalagyan ng napakadaming content. Right? So, statement of the hypothesis will easily be removed because the fact na nandoon na siya sa statement of the problem, tas sinagot mo naman sa yung result. So, why would you hypothesize? The hypothesis is embedded in the design of the research and in the statement of the problem. Dapat nandoon na yun kung tutuusin. Hindi mo kailangan mag-hypothesize, kumbaga. Saka, since this is the old style na lalo na pre-computer, you really don't need to do the statement of the hypothesis anymore. But again, kaya natin ito nilalagay because there are still schools that wants you, schools that want you to really do the statement of the hypothesis. Ayan, so tuloy lang yan, no? Pwede daw directional. Ang directional yung tipong significantly higher. Yan. Yun namang non-directional, sabihin yan is significant difference. So, dyan din lumalabas yung ating one-tailed test saka two-tailed test sa mga inferential statistics. Pag one-tailed, directional yon, significantly higher or significantly lower. Sa non-directional test naman, is there a significant difference? Therefore, two-tailed test. Okay, but again hindi na natin to ginagamit, guys. Okay, characteristic of a good hypothesis. Hindi ko na to discuss, but ayan, give enough time, pause the video, just read it because this is really, most schools, yung mga good schools, they don't do this anymore because this is not part of the EPA format. Okay, adi dito yung dahilan kung bakit siya important, right? Again, hindi siya ito yung reason before kung bakit siya important, but it was already overtaken by a lot of technology, especially sa statistics, na you don't need really to do the hypothesizing kasi lalo na automatic na yung p-value, hindi mo na yan initingnan sa normal curve kasi dati talaga mag-hypothesis ka whether directional ba yan o non-directional, mag-a-analyze ka pa kasi. Diba? Before, nagko-compute ka pa. Ngayon hindi na. So, really don't need. Okay? Why is it important? So, yan yung null saka alternative hypothesis natin. And then, ito pang isa pang controversial, yung scope and delimitation and limitation of the study. Again, hindi na rin to masyadong pinabanggit. But if you are allowed, if you are told, if you are mandated to do this, scope and limitations, wag mo na isamin delimitations. Old 60s pa yan, and so there are still some schools that allow you to i-define pa nila yan maigi, i-ano pa nila yan, i-differentiate pa nila sa inyo yan, and then at the end of the day, anong sabi ni ma'am? Hindi ko rin naintindihan, right? So basta ang point lang ng scope and limitations of the study is that you give them the scope. It starts with this. It starts with this process and it ends with this process. Ito mahalaga to sa mga medical and allied mga courses, mga program, right? Halimbawa, nagsisimula yung research nila doon sa time na i-procure nila yung kanilang samples, dinala nila sa lab and all that. So, hanggang sa nest nila, and then eventually dinispose nila properly. So, pwedeng ganun yun ang scope. May mga limitations yan. For example, ang limitations, you really have to travel, right? Sasabihin mo yon. Okay? Tapos yung limitations ng weather, hindi mo ma-permit yung weather to behave in the same way. So, but since it is a limitation, you will have to declare it. Kasi nga, later on, lalo na pag nagsusulat kayo sa mga white paper, importante po talagang dinideclare nyo lahat yan. Pressure, lahat ng nakikita nyo sa atmosphere, inilalagay mo yan. Precipitation, akala mo lang na hindi kailangan, but you really have to put that kasi later on, if the research comes up with a result that is not the same as, for example, a result from India or Pakistan, or from Germany, then you will look at the extraneous variables that maybe you did not consider. Like, as I said, umuulan ba ng todo ng time na yon? Okay, nagkaroon ba ng haze or natatagtag ba yung sasakyan on the way? So sasabihin mo lahat yon sa methods. So kaya nga ito, ini-explain na lang to kasi sa method, kaya hindi na po siya masyadong binibigyan ng pansin na. But if they want you to include it, pwede nyo isama po yon. Of course, one thing also that I always put dati before kasi ngayon hindi na yan ginagamit sa limitations study is you are actually obliged or mandated or forced syempre to accept as truth lahat ng sinabi ng mga nasa survey. Kasi how do you know na totoo yung sinasabi nila? If you will begin to doubt it, wala nang kwenta yung research mo, di ba? Lalo na if your sample is small, sabihin mo limitations yun. Okay? Isa pa pala, when I was teaching research to some nursing students before, sabi ng mga nursing students, wala sir, 7 lang po yung amin nakuhang may pregnant na mothers na patients, yun lang po kasi yung time namin na nandun kami sa hospital. So hindi po kami nakaabot ng 15 katulad ng sinasabi ng aming teacher. So sasabihin mo yung limitation na yun. Of course, hindi naman necessary na makaabot ka talaga ng 15 kung talagang wala. But there are options that you can do. Huwag ka nang magpumilit na makuha pa ng, sabi nga ng isang estudyante ko before, pero mo, ang kanyang nakuha ay 5 lang, tapos nag-ANOVA pa. Sabi ko, hindi mo nang gawin yan. Pag less than 10 ang sample mo, mag-case study ka na lang. At ipaliwanag from the very beginning na yun yung limitations natin kasi wala na tayong time, etc. But syempre, that is now naman not to preclude the fact that you really have to exert effort kasi research din nyo yan. Hindi po pwede na, as I said, sa dulo nyo na lang kasi ginawa kasi puro kayo absent nung umpisa, walang kapatawaran yan. Lalo pat kailangan mag-come up kayo with that kind of a number. But I'm just saying that if you did everything within your powers, hanggang madaling araw, nandun na kayo, wala pa rin ngayon nakuha, limitations na yun na study. Alright? Okay, andi dito yung limitation at delimitation, no? Sets the precise limits of the problem area, what the researcher will include and what he will not include. So if you will look at it, parang scope na rin to, di ba? Precise limits lang ng problem area, hanggang dito lang ako, delimitation yan. Ang limitation, yung tipong, yun nga as I said, yung pong power, existence ng power ay hindi po namin madidictate kasi mayroon pong isang pinapasurvey ko na on the second day na nagsisurvey kami, bigla nawalan po ng kuryente for 30 minutes. So, nung nagkaroon po ng kuryente, napansin ko po yung mga nagsisurvey, nagmamadali na pong umuwi. So, mabilis-bilis na po nilang ginawa yung survey. So, those are limitation. Another limitation, yun nga, basta mayroong mga natural calamity or something. Tapos yung schedule, wala ka ba gagawin sa schedule? So halimbawa, ang schedule mo na ibigay ka sa alas 4:30 ng hapon. Natural, ang mga employees, for example, nagmamadali na yan. So, wala nang masyadong magbibigay sa iyo ng pansin dyan. Okay, another limitation. Ito, mahilig to sa mga companies. Iniwan na lang po kasi yung papel namin excuse me, sa gwardiya. At sinundo na lang po yon ng HR assistant. So wala na po kami na nagawa kundi ibigay na lang po sa kanila at dinaanan na lang namin po ulit after 2 weeks. Those are limitations. Wala ka nang magagawa. Alam nga namang hindi mo i-honor yung yun, no? Na yun yung rule ng company. Hindi ka po pwede pumunta ron, di ba? Kasi safety reasons, right? So those are limitations. Ngayon, may mga, kasi different train of thought. Some teachers or different school of thought. Some teachers Tayo talaga, hindi pwede. Kung hindi kayo makakita ng ganyan, maghanap kayo ng papayag. Well, iba-iba ang ano ng mga tao. Totoo, may sa isang banda, totoo din naman yung kailangan mag-effort po tayo. Pero what if, lalo na sa Laguna area, Canlubang, Science Park, wala kayong makikitang HR na magpapapasok kayo, mag-survey kayo sa loob. Walang, walang gagawa ng ganyan unless meron kayong kakilala sa loob. But kahit na, ito pa isa. Itong ginawa ng estudyante ko, sir, nakakuha naman po kami. O paano mo nakuha yan? Nahirap nakakuha ng survey dyan sa company na yan. Sir, kasi yung daddy ko po nagpa-survey. Talaga? Taga dun siya sa loob? O anong trabaho niya? Operations manager po siya. O, di ba limitation yun? May problem ka dun. Kasi what if sinagot lang yun ng pabor sa company kasi yung nagpapasurvey sa kanila ay boss nila eh. Right? So, asan ang ano doon? Diba? So, pwedeng hindi totoo yung mga sinabi nila doon. Right? So, yan po ang sinasabi ko. Kaya po, lagi pong may limitation ng research. Pag hindi niyo yan binanggit diyan, parang ang hirap siyang maging ma-replicate. Ang international community po ay really after that. You really have to declare that once and for all. Dapat sa umpisa pa lang nandoon na po yan. Right? O yan ha, hindi naman talaga kasama to sa APA pero diniscuss natin maigi. Okay, ito pa, yung conceptual definition of terms. Again, wala na naman yan because sa review of related literature, dinidefine din naman natin. Kaya hindi na to dinaglalagay ng separate pa. Kasi tinan nyo ang mga paper. What is included in the definition of terms? Yung mga definition sa Oxford Dictionary, sa Merriam-Webster, definition sa Wikipedia. Hindi naman yun, iba dun, hindi scholarly. Right? Kailangan scholarly yung pagkaka-define, right? So, meron kang conceptual definition at meron kang operational definition as how it is used in your research. So, therefore, in the review of related literature, you can look for literature that defined the terms that you are looking for. Para wag kayong maghanap na, ang tawag namin ng aking kasamahang Dean dati dyan, si Dean Sel, ay pilited literature. Pinipilit nyo lang isama sa literature nyo. In reality, walang sense. Right? Wag niyong ginagawa yun para pahabain. So, it's okay to include definition, but do not overuse it, do not overdo it. It should be in the context that you want to clear how the term is understood in your research. So, hindi na kailangan magkaroon ng separate na ganito. But again, disclaimer, pag ang inyong school ay nandoon pa rito sa kanyang research format, wala kang magagawa kundi isundin yon. Huwag nyo silang awayin. Pero sana, gawin nyo po yung tama. Huwag yung definition of terms pati yung mga terms like respect. Pati ba naman yung mga ganun, isasama pa, no? Tapos ang nakalagay, yung nasa lang naman, dictionary. Dapat critical sa research ninyo. So if you're talking about newborn screening, yung word na screening is included. Newborn. Newborn ba ang 7 months? Di ba? Newborn ba ang 1 year and 3 months? So, merong mga technical definition po yan. So, kailangan i-operationalize nyo yan sa inyong study. Alright? So, significance of the study, another na naman to. Isa na naman tong area na hindi na po natin ginalalagay, no, because of the APA format. Hindi na, so, totoo naman in the past nilalagay itong significance of the study so that you know who will benefit from your research. But in reality, if you will look at research as it is now, you really don't care whether a group of individuals get benefited from your research, because sometimes if that is the case, then your research becomes para siyang bias in a way, kasi nga you're trying to make it significant to a group of people. You should not do that. Kailangan the research should be for research sake. I mean, really, it's for knowledge sake. Of course, you will use it to benefit mankind and all that. We understand all those things, and that is the reason why maybe you can put it in your introduction, maybe in the context of the study, background of the study, maybe you can put it there, o kaya pwede nakalagay din sa literature kasi parang in a subtle way nalagay mo nila why is it significant, right? Okay, sa discussion nandoon din po yun, pati sa conclusion recommendation you can put it there subtly. Hindi naman kailangan kasi sabihin na this will benefit the researchers, the future, di ba? Hindi na po yun, no? So, but again, disclaimer, para na naman may mga schools po kasi na talagang ginagawa pa yan. So, just follow them, right? So, andi dito naman yan, no? Ito, just a quick look before we leave this module, yung types of variable. So, meron tayo tinatawag na independent. Halos na-explain na naman natin kanina. Independent variable is the presumed cause. So, umpisa pa lang iniisip ko na parang, okay, this is the cause. It is a variable that stands alone. Of course, in the causality of things, I'm being philosophical, hindi naman talaga siya nagsa-stand alone. Hindi naman siya ang first cause and cause. Siya ay isang cause na cause din, right? And hindi naman siya talagang totally independent. But in the case of the research, since kakaunti lang naman ang box na nilalagay nyo dyan, in the case of your research, it is not dependent on any other variable. Bagkus, ang dependent variable is dependent to the independent variable. I hope that makes sense. Yung dependent variable is depending on the independent variable in the sense that if this is the cause, the higher this is, then the higher the next one. Pag sinasabi ko yung cause, presume cause, hindi mo yun i-highlight agad sa research kasi mahirap pag-produce lang tonality ng research, ng cause and effect sa research. Pwede mo lang sabihin na, you know, a relationship but not cause. Mahirap i-prove yun, no? Na usually nagkakaroon ka pa ng path analysis dyan. It is sometimes called variate. Ayan. Independent variable may be treatment or manipulable variables. Pwede rin naman non-manipulable or organismic variable. Pag non-manipulable variable, ito yung mga tipong age. Diba? Hindi naman nagbabagong age dahil gusto mo magbago. Pero yung kanina in example natin about the level, the time allotted for social media, the time spent in social media, yon manipulable yan. Pwede mo kasing pagsamasamahin yung mga todo-todong gumamit ng social media sa isang group. Ayan po. Okay? Yun, dependent variable, syempre, as I said, ito yung area of interest under investigation. Nako, ito, ang daming mga estudyante na ang nangyayari dito ay from the very beginning pa lang, from the get-go, they don't know which one is their focus. Minsan sa ending, ang binidiscuss na nila yung independent variable. Sabi ko, hindi yan ang ating focus. Ang focus natin independent variable. So, bakit napupunta ang discussion sa independent variable, right? So, dapat ang dependent variable, yan ang gusto mong i-predict, yan ang gusto mong makita kung anong nag-e-effect dyan, sino magkakos dyan, and all that. So, ang dependent variable ang importante. So, dito, sabi niya, dito so referred as criterion variable, dependent siya upon another. Maring yung causality doon is maybe clear, no? Like it's a part of a theory or gusto mo lang malaman whether there's causality. That's why it's called independent variable. Tas ito ay dependent. Okay, so that's it for this module. Thank you very much for listening and see you on the next module. Thank you.